Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Red for Anfield Index. It is Saturday, the 8th of November. Tomorrow, Sunday, the 9th of November, is the Super Sunday, isn't it? 4:30, Liverpool will take the field at the Etihad in a second versus third clash where the loser is probably out the title race completely, and a draw only suits the team at the top, doesn't it, realistically? It is another huge game in what's been an absolutely huge week for the Reds. Although, facing top opposition, teams that want to play football, as Arne Slot says, not time waste, don't want to go long, might it just suit them in this one? Plenty of build-up to it. I'm your host, Dave Davis, coming to you from... It's cold, but it's not raining in Edinburgh, so we'll take that. Plenty of tourists knocking around from what I can see as well. Hopefully it is nice wherever you are in the world. Plenty to talk about here on the Daily Red, though. And if we take a bit of a glance at the table, at the weekend's fixtures that are coming up, as we said, second versus third, isn't it? Liverpool are 7 points off the top. And if you're genuinely honest about this one, probably only a win is really good enough if they are going to mount any type of title charge, and that might even be something, having lost 4 games in a row. So maybe it is completely wishful thinking, but it feels like it's got to be 3 points. Some good games on today, though. Even this, look at that. Look at that for an opener. Spurs United, 12:30. Just under an hour's time. That's a good warm-up. Sunderland and Arsenal, we'll know what that'll be. And there's a few decent games on the Sunday, but there is only one real fixture to talk about this weekend. And it is, of course, the one that we'll be focusing on. And we'll probably talk about it a little bit more tomorrow, because if I start to scan over the headlines today, it tends to be a day of, well, comments, because you could say Arne Slot's embargo dropped last night, didn't it? 10:30. So Florian, Wirtz and others were mentioning that. Contracts and transfers was the dominant topic of yesterday, wasn't it, as well? So that's going to be the real focus. And if I look at the Liverpool headlines, you can see there's Maka above a headline of Liverpool star responds to Real Madrid interest. Yeesh. There's Ibu above a headline of Liverpool star in contact with European giants, and Bayern Munich mentioned. Don't like any of these. Do like this one, though. Fabrizio Romano, Liverpool in talks over double contracts. There's a few of our players. So it's mad, isn't it? We're in November. It's only a few months till January, but already I think things are starting to come a bit clearer of who might stay, who might move on, who might get renewed. The picture is building a little bit, but we will get into that very shortly. And speaking of a player that we will get stuck into shortly, let's give him his real praise, because Dominik Szoboszlai was Liverpool's October Player of the Month. Well deserved, as it says there. For the quote from Dominik Szoboszlai, I'm very happy that I'm in probably the best form of my career, but the hardest part is to keep going and keep this level. But I will work on it every day and hopefully winning even more awards. If Liverpool's Player of the Season was to be cut short and judged just now, contest over, knockout, done, endito, Dominik Szoboszlai by an absolute country mile. He has been absolutely sensational this season. And it's mad when you look at Dominik Szoboszlai as well and think about how he's done. His goal contributions, his big moments, played right back, played in the double pivot, back in the 10, and being absolutely just key to everything. And you think of big moments like that free kick against Arsenal at Anfield. He's gone to another level, I think it's fair to say, with Dominik Szoboszlai. But October, it wasn't even a contest. The Player of the Month, was it? Well and truly deserved. Arne Slot's had a lot to say recently as well. He's been talking about Virgil after Wayne Rooney's comments and how that was dealt with. He mentioned Florian Wirtz in the press conference. He mentioned Florian, or responded, shall we say, to Arsene Wenger in the embargo as well at the same time. So let's have a little run through what we're hearing with these, or what we can see. In terms of what he said about the skipper, he said, with Virgil, it's so clear that he's the leader of the team. When you walk through the AXA training centre, when we start the training session, you can hear him. You can feel he's our leader. He's already been so important for this club for many years. Damn straight. And we all loved it afterwards, after that Real game. You saw Virgil stick it on Wayne Rooney and others, and, you know, they look a bit flustered. And I'm not always like doing this, don't get me wrong, but I'll give Wayne Rooney a bit of due. He actually talked in his, I think, whatever podcast he's on afterwards about this incident, and, you know, a bit of joking, but was honest to say, you know, what I'd said about the comment about signing a new contract and taking his foot off the gas, probably wrong. So, you know, fair play, he admitted that was the case. But the skipper has come out fighting in terms of his talk and his performance this week. And it's been absolutely brilliant to see. And even better to see Arne Slot, of course. You'd expect nothing less, backing up his skipper, backing up his Dutch counterpart. Now, Florian Wirtz is getting a lot of traction for different reasons. As I said, Arsene Wenger spoke about it before. Arne Slot talked about it in the press conference, and now in the embargo, Arne Slot's talked a little bit further. See, you may just have forgot a little bit of this because it's natural. A lot's been going on the last day or so. Let's just listen to what Arne Slot said about Wirtz in the press conference, first of all, as a reminder.
And Florian can play on more than only one position. So he can play off the left, which he did almost all the time in Leverkusen when Xabi Alonso came and introduced this 3-4-3 system, or the way you want to call that system. And before that, he mainly played as a 10 in the 4-3-3. So I think it's more about getting him in the positions where he's good at than we should be so focused on, is he a 10, is he an 11, or is he an 8? I think we would like to have him in and around the 18-yard box centrally, or a bit more off the left or a bit more off the right, for him to create the amount of chances he's already created.
Yeah, it almost ties together this timeline a bit, doesn't it? That when he first came, Florian Wirtz did that interview with Kicker. You can't deny this, where he said, yeah, I spoke to Slot and told me about being the number 10. You know, that's just factual. Then since, obviously, the season started, it's not quite worked out. This is not Florian Wirtz's fault at all, because he's been a 10. He's been in the double pivot. He's been right midfield for a few games. He was left midfield or left attack, wasn't he, against Palace in a weird setup, in a weird way as well. So it's definitely not Florian Wirtz's fault. But Arne Slot keen to emphasise there, because after a sensational showing, he was brilliant against Real Madrid, European elite, and he was brilliant. Yes, he started off the left, but he was all over the place, wasn't he? Really. And again, as Arne Slot alluded to, creating chances. And in case you missed it, Arsene Wenger was quite direct, wasn't he? Saying, well, he brought him in as number 10 and he's destroyed, and he used that phrase, destroyed his midfield, because he had Gravenberch, Szoboszlai and McAllister, and he moved that around. So a lot of people picked up on that. And that was the theme of the embargo last night, or one of the themes, I should say, of Arne Slot's comments in the embargo. It was quite, honestly, that everyone has a right to their opinion. We have 5 or 6 very good midfielders who can all play together, but they need to play together to get the best out of every single player. And he also said Florian needs time to adapt to his teammates, and teammates need time to adapt to him. Now, we played off the left, but I can tell you, if it's not now, is it tomorrow? He will have great performances as a midfielder for Liverpool as well. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because me and most of the fan base, I think it's fair to say, I'm struggling to put it any other way, have been crying out for Florian Wirtz to be on that left side of the attack, haven't we? Saying it just seems perfect in terms of what he can do, how he can drift in, like he did for Leverkusen, as Arne Slot alluded to. Surely it would just be the perfect solution. He can press, he can create chances. He will allow that left fullback to bomb on. It could even, it suited well for Robbo the other night. We think it could suit well for Kirkes at the same time as well. Far better than the link-up he's had with Cody Gakpo recently. You spend £100 million on a player, you want to see their quality, but they've got to be given a chance in the right setup as well. It just seems perfect. But it is important to say or to deduce certain things from what Arne Slot's saying. And, we're going to see some games, we suspect, with Florian Wirtz in the 10. Maybe the left, possibly the right. It wouldn't surprise you if Arne Slot does want to, I don't know how you put it, revert back to that ideal. We shall have to see on the Florian Wirtz situation, And shout out there to, if I'm pronouncing this right, 162680, the best daily Liverpool news, bar none. Cheers, mate. I will take that all day long. And the final quote that Arne Slot had, because it's interesting, people have talked about his lack of rotation last season and how well that worked. And then this season, changing a lot of things in a lot of games and how it's unfolded with 4 consecutive defeats in a row. He responded to this in the embargo as well. He said, "I'm known as being a manager who prefers not to change, but I couldn't do anything different to what I did. Then, of course, we brought new players in and they have to adapt. Gravenberch missed the first 2 games of the season. Alexis McAllister was out the whole preseason. Connor Bradley wasn't able to play." Bit of a yes and no to that one, isn't it? Because I can't agree. I'd be surprised if everyone else did as well. From what we've seen in the setup of Arne Slot's team, even with the odd injury here and there, we have been scratching our heads a bit, haven't we? Thinking, why is he doing that? Why is he repeating the same thing when it clearly didn't work? What we've liked in the last few games, especially since the Villa one and the Real, that reversion back to a lot of things that worked well last season, isn't it? That midfield 3 of McAllister, Gravenberch and Szoboszlai as the 10. That's worked so well. Dropping to a double pivot again in build-up works so well, because if you have got players that maybe aren't the best or the most natural at progressing it, such as a Bradley or a Canate, to give them 2 options, it's brilliant. Even for Gravenberch as well, because quite often before those games, we've seen Gravenberch and 2 in front of him. And he's almost having to cover the length of the field when he's been available, whoever's played in there. Now it's 2 covering half of the pitch each. It just looks a million times better, doesn't it, as well? However, it's just interesting to note there that, maybe he is telling you certain things, that now he's got Gravenberch, now he's got Bradley, now he's got McAllister all firing. Maybe there might just not be too much rotation in that. Time will tell anyway. Plenty of games coming up, although another international break. Absolute joke, but it is what it is. In terms of transfers and contract talk, plenty around this, and a real mixed bag, it's fair to say. Some negative, some really positive. Fabrizio was talking again. We haven't heard from him for a while, but a double positive update here. This was his first bit, wasn't it? Talks are advancing and progressing between Liverpool and Dominik Szoboszlai over a new contract. No agreement yet. Halle fucking Lula. Sweet baby G's and the orphans, bring it on. If there's one player right now we want to get tied down to a long-term contract, it's a 25-year-old in the best form of his career, absolutely world-class at the moment, Dominik Szoboszlai. They've got to get that tied up. I mean, it's insane to say for a man who's played right back in the double pivot and the 10, he's actually got 7 goal contributions, hasn't he? 5 goals, 2 assists in his 15 games so far. It's a player of the year for us. Absolutely hands down so far. Not even a contest. The only thing to really denote on this, which is important, and quite rightly to say, Dominik Szoboszlai isn't going to be signed up for a long-term deal to 2030, whatever it will be on the cheap, is he? Dominik Szoboszlai, quite right, and his agent are going to ask big money. And what they'll be looking at which is always, sometimes the risk, isn't it, is Salah and Virgil were renewed for massive money. Quite rightly, as we all wanted it to. Let's not pretend we didn't, but that was going to play a part. The other thing that I think is quite, I don't say Liverpool will regret it, that's too strong, but having done some digging on this and, trying to get info around it, I mean, quite a few are suggesting that Cody Gakpo's contract is in excess of 225 grand a week. Genuinely had that sort of stood up by a good number of journalists and different people in the game now as well. So Cody Gakpo's on around 225 grand a week. What's Dominik Szoboszlai going to be asking for? Who, by the way, is far more important in the context of this team. So that is just worth mentioning at the same time as well. It's going to be a big old wage hike there. Nothing wrong with that. We'll happily get that done. You want the top, you've got to pay the dollar, haven't you? And speaking of paying the dollar, we want this one done as well. Fabrizio also were mentioning we're working on a deal for Ryan Gravenberch. It's in the early stages with some conversations. Again, look how young he is. Look how well he's done. Another one we want to see accelerate in terms of getting that done quite quickly before the summer as well. Again, you look at Ryan Gravenberch, he's talked about the freedom he's given, 5 goal contributions. It just looks better than there's a double pivot, doesn't he? And say he's not having to cover the whole width, it's just half the pitch. That's crucial for him as well. But again, another one, who do you think of that Gakpo deal and the others? And quite rightly, this isn't a dig at any of these players. They should be asking for top dollar. That's what we're worth. They know as well how it plays out. We know how it plays out. Liverpool lowball, don't they? And they work from there as negotiations go on. As Hughes, Edwards, etc., try and drive for the hardest bargain they can. But you want those two done, don't you? They were part of those full midfield arrivals that summer under Jurgen Klopp, weren't they? Those two, Endo and McAllister. And maybe I could be wrong on this. But that headline is telling, isn't it? From the website there. Maka, Liverpool star, responds to Real Madrid transfer interest. There's a lot of links to Maka from Spain, isn't there? I think it's fair to say. And you've just got that feeling that as you hope, 2 elements, you hope Szoboszlai gets renewed, you hope Gravenberch gets renewed. Of course you do. That's the right thing to do. But then you just get the impression that Liverpool's business model, the way FSG set it up, I'm not sure they'd renew all 3 of them on top dollar as well. There's obviously been talk about McAllister, rumours with Spain. I think it's fair to say there's nothing definite, but it would not surprise you if that is firmed up a little bit more, would you, in the summer past the World Cup? Again, though, that's a long-term conversation. In the short term, we want them deals for Gravenberch and Szoboszlai to accelerate rapidly. In terms of everyone's favourite player that never plays, this is brilliant, this. And if you've got about 15 minutes free at any time today, this is well worth your time. Federico Chiesa did it. Answered the internet's most asked question. It's a brilliant thing for this. Did it for Sky Sports Premier League. Look at his smiling, handsome puss there. What a boy he is. But yeah, I won't give you too much from it because it is worth, so as I said, 15 minutes or so of your time. But the favourite ones, it's just worth showing you or talking about. Look at that. On the song, which has obviously been a topic for discussion for many a while. At the beginning, it was a bit embarrassing because they were singing for someone who wasn't playing. I did appreciate it a lot. And now that I'm playing and scoring, I'm glad. The support is amazing. And so I'm honoured to play for them. There you go. It's been a hell of a debate, Federico Chiesa's tune, with some especially. But that's the man himself saying he loves it. And then I'll give you one more as well, because this is a good one. Asked about his favourite moment at Liverpool, winning the Premier League, of course. It was so special. It was my first championship, even though I didn't play that much last year. Winning for Liverpool at Liverpool with amazing players. It was amazing. It's just going to be one of those bits for this season with Federico Chiesa. We'll probably come on. We'll like what he does, press as well. We like the little cameos, didn't we, against Real Madrid? We've liked what we've seen recently. However we dress it up, it's just not going to be in favour, though, with Arne Slot, isn't it? So I think we get another season of the chant, the tune, whatever you want to call it, a few cameos and highlights. Might just be your lot. But 15 minutes for your time, well worth that. Sky Sports Premier League on YouTube. In terms of other contracts and transfer talk, there was plenty. Indy was a busy boy as well yesterday, so we'll mention a few of these. But this one, Bayern Munich are in contact with Liverpool defender Ibrahima Konate's entourage over a potential transfer. Bayern are apparently interested in bringing him to the Bundesliga on a free. The signs are just not good with Ibu, aren't they? What we're in November, in less than 2 months, he can sign a pre-contract agreement with an overseas club. Now, it's also come out this last week, hasn't it, that suggestions from some journalists that Real Madrid have moved away from him as a top choice, and his French international teammate, Upamecano, is their top option, which is interesting at the same time as well. Now, Bayern are in the mix, and I do wonder, it's quite clear, you've all seen the reports, that Liverpool have got a contract offer on the table, but yeah, how confident are we in keeping Ibu at Anfield right now? I think it's fair to say it dwindles each day. There may be a bit of hope with recent reports, but hope rather than expectation. I think that's fair to say for everyone. In terms of his replacements, though, or what other centre-halves might be coming in, this was the big story, wasn't it, that a lot of people pounced on? Sporting centre-back, Ousmane Diomande. The Ivory Coast international is a name being considered by Liverpool. With Konate's ongoing contract situation and Mark Gay not being a done deal, Liverpool are doing their due diligence. Now, just a little thing on this. This isn't about bagging other sites, because everyone reports differently in styles. I saw a lot of people say, this is exclusive yesterday, that this has just come out, that Liverpool have got serious interest in Ousmane Diomande. Just to be factual, I'm serious on this. I sound like a ranting Rafa now, but I don't give a shit. Look at this. 4 weeks ago, as you can see there on the screen, like Perry Mason here, revealed the 2 defenders Liverpool watch as they plan January moves. Oh, and who's hosting that? I mentioned about Van Hecke at Brighton being approached and Ousmane Diomande at Sporting Lisbon being approached. Maybe it's that, same info, same source. I've no idea. But we have mentioned this for a while on Anfield Index. So that's just important to have on the record. In terms of Diomande's record, there's a lot to like with this player. I mean, you expected him to move to Crystal Palace. That kind of fell through, didn't it, last season? 21 years old. Very much what I would say an FSG profile, as in someone who's got certain stats and the value, because he's got 18 months left to go on his contract in January. So Sporting, there's no sign he's going to sign a new deal with Sporting. So that will come into the mix as well. Also, in terms of what FSG will like, he has the exact same agent as Virgil van Dijk through the Roof agency. So there's going to be contacts and, options there. That will be beneficial at the same time. When you see his profile, and I mean, just the physical attributes, he is aerially dominant. He's rapid. If you watch the highlights of him, if you watch any footage of him or live, he can, like Ibu, can get up a steam when he needs to. But then you look at certain things and, his passes attempt are in the 92nd percentile. His pass completion, nearly 93, in the 98th percentile. So, he passes the ball well. Maybe the one thing you'd query is 57th percentile for progressive passes, because that's been a bit of a theme for Liverpool. But in terms of the raw attributes and what he's got, and when you look at him overlaid against Ibu, it's not a million times different, is it? Remembering that Ibu's 26, Diomande's 21. So you could see why Liverpool would be interested in Ousmane Diomande, as we said previously. And in terms of aerial duel stats, I mean, in the league, 65.3 aerial duel success. And if you factor in the Champions League, and if you look at just this season, if you factor in all competitions, he's going at 70. So we like that element as well. There's a lot to like about Diomande. Probably, if we're being real, though, the things that might just be an issue right now is an Ivory Coast international. So he's expected to go, of course, to the AFCON tournament, isn't he? So he'll be out, not going to be on coming in instantly if we wanted to do it in January, for instance. So if it's a January move, as we said before, that counts against him. Had an injury recently, but back now playing for Sporting. Injury history, not too bad at all. A lot of games for a younger player. At the same time as well, other people might argue he's played a lot of his career in a back three. Very true, but also played in a back four. There's a lot to like about Diomande. If Liverpool are going to make this move for him at all, not changing what I said 4 weeks ago, it's struggling to see it in January. It's not saying it's possible, but it's one that feels more that it could be for the summer if that happens. And if we do, as expected, see Joe Gomez and Konate depart, which seems to be the likely scenario, not definite right now, I think there's a lot of people that will be happy to see him come in as one of those options. So definitely one to keep an eye on. We'll see if anything brews before January at all. That probably wasn't the biggest traction, though, wasn't it, transfer-wise from Liverpool yesterday? Indy tweeted this, didn't he? And not only did he tweet it, he tweeted it about, I don't want to know, what to say, 5, 6 times, I think he retweeted this, that Liverpool have submitted a 65 million proposal to sign Antoine Semenyo from Bournemouth. The player wants the move. It's such a weird one, this whole Semenyo saga. Is he in form? Yes. Are there things to like about Antoine Semenyo? God, yes. Could he play across the front line? Absolutely. Ultimately, though, we'll delve into this a little bit deeper. Can't escape this. If you sign an Antoine Semenyo and we've got 65 million quid in the kitty, is there not a little part of you that's thinking, good player, but we need defenders. We probably need a defensive midfielder more. And when I say defenders, you could look across the back line as well for what you'd want right now. This almost feels like 6th or 7th on the list of priorities. It's almost like you're putting a conservatory on your house when there's fucking holes in the roof type of job, doesn't it? So it's just a bit like, not saying it's never just bad or good because we're not 12 years old, but does it seem like the right move just now? I'm not 100% sure. Now, if we want to deal in terms of the pros, as we said, the physical attributes of Semenyo are outstanding, aren't they? Beast of a player, worked hard, electric, great pace, great acceleration as well. He is in a hot streak, which some people will see as good or bad. There's a warning message that comes with that. But in terms of what he could offer as an option to just go beyond and what Liverpool's attack is lacking a little bit, that electric play and pace, there's ticks in the boxes there. No two ways about it. Not going to AFCON either because Ghana haven't qualified. That's positive. There are other positives as well when you look at his FB ref profile and just from what we've seen, because we can watch Semenyo regularly, 6 goals, 3 assists in 10 games. But in terms of the underlying, I mean, it works hard. 99th percentile for blocks, 96th percentile for aerials won, averaging just shy of 3 a game, 81st percentile for shots total, which is great as well. Can play across the front line. That's a little lower than we'd like. And I think this is another one that will come in the question mark box at best. Non-penalty XG, 0.27, 66th percentile. That is a little bit lower than a lot of Liverpool forwards and how they profile. That is important to say, although you will argue, could be a set to, as they say, go supernova. This could be the trend upwards. When you overlay him as well against Cody Gakpo, you can see the differences in the profile. I don't think anyone's in any doubt as to what Antoine Semenyo brings. And there will be fans of him. And I get it. People are saying what he could change, the pace, the attributes, something or multiple things we don't have. Agree with that completely. But again, is it the thing we need to sort right now? No. Is it the priority for Liverpool? Absolutely not. If we've got 65 million in the kitty, do we want it spent on Antoine Semenyo? Not right now for me. There's other things that are far more important to fix in the defensive side. I think we probably all won't mind a DM or the money going towards that as well. So don't want to rag on Semenyo. I'd be happy if he signed, but you'd want others before him. Not seeing many disagree with me in the chat panel as well. People saying, yeah, it'd be an awesome signing, but is he the priority? If you ask ourselves that honestly, don't think you're coming to that conclusion. Also, just if we did add Semenyo, technically you could argue that, how many forwards if you went Semenyo, Salah, Chiesa, Gakpo, Isak, Ekitike, that's 6. And then, Ngamo, if you're going to argue that, 7. Florian Wirtz could also, as we've seen, play on the left side of it. So 8 options in the forward line. Just doesn't feel likely, does it? The only other thing is, if that happened, I think you'd have a huge question mark about surely someone's going. If Semenyo comes, surely someone's going. But it's all conjecture. But Indy retweeted that 3 times yesterday. So 1 just to keep an eye on. In terms of other news as well, we have got 1 contract sorted, which is great. Or maybe don't get too excited. Depends how you see things. Liverpool have extended the contract of Academy Director Alex Inglethorpe, who's credited a lot behind the scenes, and there's a lot of youngsters, shall we say, have come into the mix recently. I know it's not really the contract you want, but these things can be important behind the scenes, can't they? In terms of just a little prelude to the City game as well, Pep was talking yesterday, wasn't he, saying with Rodri, I think we won't take a risk ahead of the international break. We have to find the moment he feels strong and fit to sustain the actions in the game properly. So that is a positive that Rodri won't be playing in this one. And there's another huge threat, which we'll be talking about tomorrow at the same time, that we'll be looking for. But plenty of contract and transfer talk there for you. In terms of AI content, covered all the way through today, even into tomorrow. Just look at this. Even in the last day or so, you had Grizz and Gags talking about Conor Bradley and the right back. Me and David Lynch on Media Matters talking about this game. The great Dane Jan Mulby talking with Trev about Real City and how we're doing. The Up Boys, Bart's, Hamza, everyone breaking down Szoboszlai, Bradley, that Real game, how our shape looks as well. Gags and Griggs also talked about Florian Wirtz on the left. That's probably a big discussion. And look at that, another video with the great Dane and Trev talking about form. So look at that. Even in the last 24 hours, you've got all that on AI. If you prefer the written formula, medium, you've got plenty coming out there at the same time. And of course, it's match day tomorrow, Super Sunday, so you'll have everything as normal. You'll have Daily Red in the afternoon, you'll have the build-up, you'll have Jack doing the watch-along, you'll have Gags post-match, and the Raw Boys, Trev, Dave, and I'm sure they'll be joined by someone else, covered all the way through to the close of this weekend. And who knows, maybe this just geared you up nicely for the early one. It's Spurs United, could be an interesting game, couldn't it, for this one? But it's natural that your thoughts are probably drifting a little bit, if I'm right, towards tomorrow. Super Sunday. maybe I'm mad, but just right now, and we'll see obviously how everything works, I've just got a bit of a sneaker that it's going to go well for Liverpool. Could be completely, wildly wrong, but we'll see. We'll see if anything develops in terms of Semenyo, Diomande as the weeks go on. It's not a million miles to that January window either, is it? But Saturday, the 8th of November, enjoy your day wherever you are. That was another Daily Red for Anfield Index.